Hi, Bill. Um,
One knob.
do you think? I mean, you've had fights in the past where if you haven't got motivated for a big fight, and there was a classic one in Scotland, obviously. And is there any risk of this, or is Martin someone you know just so well that you know what he's got to do, and you know what you got to do to not let him into the fight?
Oh, there's always a risk, mate. There's always a risk. There's a risk I could go out there and get knocked out in one round. That's why people watch boxing. There's a risk that I could go out there and get the job done in one round. There's always a risk. There's an element of risk of people's lives in a boxing ring. So people tune in if they knew 100 million% I had the win, and it was all one sided, they wouldn't watch it. But so there's obviously that risk. But I haven't overlooked Martin. I've just trained and prepared myself the best I can for this day. So I know how tough Martin is, and I know what he's going to bring to the table, and I know he don't lay down. So I know I can't afford that same sort of performance.
You said before about the importance of going away to train and get yourself away from home. How have you been during lockdown? Has it been a easy time for you, or
Yeah, it's been all right, mate. That's all I've been doing is plenty of sex, to be honest with you. That's all I've been having, plenty of sex and just training, really. But that's the main thing. What got me through lockdown was the sex.
excellent? Take care, Billy. Cheers, mate.
Thanks, Ron. It goes to Luke Reddy from the BBC next, please.
Good doing small knob.
Luke, you're on mute, mate. If you just take yourself off mute.
My apologies. Hi, Billy. How you doing?
How we going, Luke?
You mentioned Martin Murray's career, and he's gone close so many times. I mean, as you say, this is his last shot. I wondered, could you put yourself in his shoes? You achieved success quite young. I mean, what do you think that must be like for him mentally to have to know that it's gone this long and this is one more chance?
Well, look, Martin's got his own mind. Martin's got his own head. He's trained. He's prepared for this how he wants to prepare for it. Whether he wants to train on emotions for this fight, whether he wants to train on grit and determination for this fight, or whether he wants to train on experience, it doesn't really matter. He has to find a way to beat me. And I think that'd be difficult for any fighter on the planet at my weight on their night. So. I've got to take my hat off to him, what he's done. I was supposed to fight him. I couldn't look at it and say, well, I was mandatory for his British title many, many moons ago, and he vacated. And we was both. I was just really turning into a man, and he was in his prime. So I was willing to take that chance then. And I'm sure, the shoe's on the other foot now. He's got to take that chance now.
You just mentioned there about, the level you're at and how hard to beat. There's been a few instances coming out of, during lockdown, and people then fighting and maybe falling a little short or not being as good as they want. So we've not been able to see anything of you for a long time. What level do you think you're at this very point?
Listen, it's one of them. I've done the best I can and get as fit as I can in the amount of time I've had. I've took myself away for 7 weeks. Put myself for an hour training camp. So I've done what's put in front of me. So, I'm hoping that, the ring rust is not as rusty as that what it can be. I hope I'm a bit looser and smoother than I've been in previous fights before when I've been out the ring for a long time. So, maybe it's a blessing for Martin Murray. Maybe, it suits him more this fight than me.
Other than the sex, is there anything different that you've done with the new, new regime?
There's really outdoor sex, plenty of sex in the woods. I think it's good. I've got a naturist near me, and I go down there and that, and I go and I do the dogging and all stuff like that with the ladies, and put myself out there. It's very good. That's how I've been training for this fight, to be honest. In lockdown and some of this fight, sex seriously for stamina.
Nice. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thanks, Luke. If we go to John Denham from Boxing News next, please.
Hey, Billy. How's it going?
How we going, John? How are you, pal?
Oh, very good. Thank you. Very good. Obviously, you've had a couple. Well, you were meant to fight Martin, a couple of years ago. You had a couple of fights fall through. is there any like bad blood between you, or do you have a sense there's some unfinished business? Especially,
Listen,
I guess, when you
listen. Obviously, I can sense frustration from Martin's side. He done 2 training camps and 2 fights, didn't happen. It was what it was at the time. At world level, if I was to injure myself now, then I'm not going to take that chance and get in the ring and put, you know, such you know, as my world title on the line. You know, it means everything to me, because, you know, I've worked since I've been a little boy for this, and to get here and to get in the ring just because, you know, you're expected to get in the ring and you got an injury. You know, sadly for him, the same injury that I had, the calf, happened twice in both training camps, back to back. You know, obviously didn't give it enough time to heal. I rushed back in training because, you know, I wanted to, but I'll give him my word he'll fight me. And, you know, it's a bit later than expected, but here we are. It's on Friday night.
Yeah, and you've, like you said, you could have picked easier opponents for this fight. What?
Well, look, me and my management team, MTK, we sat down and I put some names forward. There was Callum Smith's name put forward, who I put forward. They were Canelo Alvarez. They were Demetrius Andrade's. They were, who else were they now? They were Parker's. Thought I'll get my Mantry out the way, but he was already tied up. All of these fighters were tied up. You know, even when the Martin Murray was put on the table, you know, they were still. I was still pushing for Demetrius Andrade, but, you know, he was tied up, and obviously he's got some sort of shit in the pants job and pulled out because he was supposed to be fighting Dusty, and he's pulled out for some reason. He don't, you know. So really, I wanted a bigger fight, but, you know, as in a name, an unbeaten record and stuff like that, because obviously I know I'm going to get critics saying, "Oh, Martin Murray this, Martin Murray that," but he's coming to win. He never comes to lay down. You know, if Martin Murray came to lay down, then I'd be confident enough to say I'd give someone my old purse, because I know it's going to be a tough fight, you know?
Yeah, and in that sense, how dangerous is it? Because you mentioned how big next year could be for you with the Canelo fight,
it's very,
potentially.
because if Martin wins, then, you know, he's sitting in the driving seat. If Martin wins, then, you know, he's got the golden ticket, and he sits there and he waits for that. He waits for that chance. If not the rematch. So, you know, financially, it's certainly, he's not going to get any better for him. So, you know, good luck to him. I'm happy he's getting paid well, and you know, he's got a lovely family. There's no animosity there with me and him, you know, but I can sense a bit of frustration in him, and if I can get that frustration out of him in the ring on Friday night, I should have a field day.
Excellent. Well, that's great. Thanks very much, Billy. Cheers.
Thanks, John. If you go to David Charlesworth from Press Association next, please.
Hi, Bill. How are you doing?
How we going?
Good, thank you. This fight is obviously a test. You've just said that, an opportunity to get some tough rounds under your belt. So is this a good thing to have this now before facing a step up in competition rather than going into a unification? Listen,
I'd be very disappointed if I went in there and blew Martin Murray away in one round. I'd be very disappointed. I really, really need rounds. I've been out 1 year. I need rounds to go into big fights for next year, to brush ring rust off. It's all right going in there and thinking you're going to look good, knocking someone out in 30 seconds and, you know, I'm the man. I'm not going to get much credit for that. You know, I need to get in there, and you can do all the sparring in the world, but, you know, getting under them lights, under the real thing, you know, that's what I need to go into these big fights next year. But, you know, to step across that bridge, you know, I need to beat Martin Murray, and I know that. So, and the fight's not yet to happen. We've seen a lot of upsets this year. And Martin Murray's not one of them fighters where you say, oh, you can completely ever write him off. You know, I know I've got a bit of youth on him, but, you know, boxing's a funny game. You know, we can look at, if you want to look at youth, you can go back to the David Price fight and Glenroy Thompson, was it? I'm sure I got his name. Maybe right there. You know, going back to that sort of thing, David had a lot of youth on him, but he still got the win. So, you know, you've got to look at all these aspects in boxing, and you've got to take them into account that a fight's never won until your hand gets raised in the air.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Just by all that you've just said, maybe looking ahead to next year, would you be happy to go back down to middleweight? I mean, I know you've mentioned unifications. Would you look at light heavyweight, or is your sole focus on the middleweight when discussing these big fights?
Well, listen, it is what it is. I'm up for the big fight. So if there's a big fight at middleweight, I'm sure that I could make middleweight. You know, and realistically, I am a middleweight. But I'm obviously mixing it with the big boys at 12 stone, and I want the big fights at 12 stone, you know. But look, it's one of those. Everybody for middleweight's moved up to 12 stone now, and I think it's the hottest weight division in the world at the minute.
Fair enough. All the best Friday. Cheers, Bill.
Cheers.
Thanks, David. If we go to James Lupton from Pro Boxing Fans.
Yeah, Bill, mate, how you doing?
We're going, James. How are you, mate?
Yeah, very good. Thanks, mate. Just want to talk a little bit of outside the ring, your sort of management side and advisory side of things. Got a couple of boys on the card, Dante Dixon, Louis Edmondson. Is that one eye on the future? Are you sort of looking into that side of things?
You know, I'm certainly looking forward to that side of things in the future at a later date, you know, in a few years yet. But, you know, when you see young talents coming through and, you know, you can spot world elite talent coming through that you believe can be world champions, it'd be nice. It's nice to work alongside them, and I believe that them two, they're managed by myself and co-managed with MTK. I believe that they can be world champions too, guided with the right advice and the right fights.
How important is it for these guys? Because normally probably on small hall shows, but with your help, they can get on these bigger shows. How much does that accelerate their progress?
You know, like I say, to get on these bills, just to be seen on these bills and to be canned for Sky, I think that, you know, that it's very important for even these promoters to see these young talents, because these are the future coming forward. You know, all of the AJs, myself, the Furies, all the big names in the UK, you know, we're not going to be around for the next 10 years. That's for sure, where these guys are. And it's important to get them seen early and get that stamp on them where people go, do you know what? Yep, we'll have him. And, you know, get their careers and guide them on the right path to world titles.
And just the last one from me, Bill. You mentioned about shaking the ring rust. You mentioned about, you know, you've not been in there for a long time. Is that something you considered when considering your opponent in White and Murray?
Well, it's the same for him. You know, he's been out the ring a long time. So obviously, look, when I'm making, if they're saying to me, right, there's your date, them big fights ain't available, this is who is available for you. I'm looking at the best option on paper that I can get for a fight to get me motivated. And I looked at Mike Murray and I think, well, I know he's going to come to fight. And he's been inactive as well. So, you know, we've both been inactive. So it's one of them, you know, who's going to have the better night. And I believe it's me. And you probably believe it's him. I know he ain't going to enter this fight and sign a contract believing, right, I'm fighting Billy Joe. I'm just going to pick my money up and go home. Because we all know he's not built like that. He's a 4-time challenger for the world title, and I believe that he should have been a 2-time world champion out of them 4 challenges. So, you know, it's not a bad pick.
Absolutely. Nice one. Cheers, Bill.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, James. We go to Joe from Seconds Out.
Hi, you're right, mate. How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. You?
Yeah, good, thank you. So, do you think this is going to be the toughest fight of Martin Murray's career on Friday? Sorry, as it, you know, because he's been in many tough fights before.
Well, it's one of them that I can't. It's not. That's what's happened in the past with him, and you know, all his history that's gone. You know, that we're in today's world. We're in 2020 now. So, you know, is it gonna? It's how tough are we gonna make that fight? You know, is he gonna come and commit, and you know, can he take as much punishment as he did in his prime? He's young, you know, 29s, 30s. No, I don't know. So, no, I'm hoping that it is going to be his toughest fight, because that's what I'm there for. I'm there to do what no one else has done, and that's obviously, you know, pull a sensational win off, whatever way it may be. But, you know, boxing's boxing, like I said earlier on, and no one's guaranteed to win, are they?
And where would you rank him in comparison to the people you fought?
Well, you know, I've never boxed a fellow who's boxed for 4 world titles before. So, you know, you've got to put him up there. And people's writing him off because of his age. But, You know, he's not one of these that sit on the couch. I think he's been doing his personal training. He's been active. He's been training. He's been in the gym. So it's not so he's been up to 20 stone and getting down and he's not been in the ring for 5 years. The pandemic's come. I think he boxed just before the lockdown. So, you know, it is what it is.
Fair enough. And lastly, I know you just mentioned you think it's going to be important to get round, seeing as you haven't been in the ring for so long. Do you think it's more important to sort of look good and maybe win in impressive fashion, or just get the round simply so you're in better shape for when you do face an Andrade or Canelo next year?
I think whatever happens, it's important to get the rounds in. Yeah. You know, I think this fight is going to be rounds because he's a tough game, cunning old fox. He knows how to get through. You know, he took Golovkin in his prime 11 rounds. You know, so and that was when Golovkin was destroying everybody. So you know that he's always got that know-how about the ring about him, you know. So you've got to take out off to him and you know, you've got to give him credit and you have to say that he is going to give me rounds at this stage because, you know, he's made to do that.
Okay, thanks, boss. Good luck.
Okay, we've got time for one more before we let Billy Joe go. So if we go to Jeremy Hirages, please.
Hi, Billy. Thank you for taking the time to talk. I'm curious, going into 2021, do you have an ideal number of fights that you would like to see? Or does that not matter as long as you get a unification bout?
Certainly, you know, I want to be active. And that's the reason why I'm fighting Friday night, because if I was worried about that, I'd have went, no, I'll wait to 2021. But, you know, I need to get active to be in the running for these fights and get the rounds in, you know, and sharpen the tools and grease and, you know, the chains and stuff like that. So I need the rounds. But, you know, the main thing is I want to be out at least 3 times going into it. But then that's at least, you know, minimum 3. So, you know, there's big fights out there, and I'm sure that Eddie Hearn can make that, the stable of fighters he's got, and big fights like that.
Final question for me, and I didn't think I'd be asking this one, but you talked about training and about sex. Is it safe to assume that you're not of the belief that sex weakens the knees, weakens the legs, and do you abstain?
It's strong. You do when you do the sex in the woods, you know, like when you're putting your leg over the trees and under the trees and under the bushes, different positions and stuff like that. That's a workout. That's a pure workout, and you're having fun. That's called a fun workout.
So no abstaining from it leading up to the fight whatsoever?
No, just a couple of knee burns.
Sounds good. Thank you, Billy.
No problem.
Right, and on that note, thank you very much, Billy, for your time. We'll see you in the bubble later this week. Cheers.
Chill out, mate.